This is the arc of years of friendships, love affairs, and unrecognizable choices. My name is James, and I have always been one of those guys who love to be friends with everyone, both men and women. Having said that, I am a guy who has tons of girlfriends, but mostly all my best friends are guys. Two of those men, Mike and Steve, ended up with women who put our world on fire. Mike's girlfriend Jenna and Steve's fiancée Rachel are the women you scratch your head at. Jenna is always a little nerdy, fucky, and likes to hang out with guys who are more than just friends. She has that halo effect where you always have a crowd of guys who will pay for her drinks, give her gifts, compliment her. She loves to be noticed, but Mike? She walks on water, he seems to think. Rachel is not so neat. She's got borderline personality disorder, and she has erratic moods and bad relationships. Rachel does, however, as Jenna did, try to break up with Steve and start off her roller coaster of second chance romances. It's a slight one, but it feels big to those of us on the outside. The first major episode one can recall from Jenna, when we were all in college. Jenna had been dating Mike for a year, and while they were all smiles in the bedroom, it was not. One evening, Jenna told me that she had dumped Mike. She wasn't really at all sorry, as though she were trying to see if I would keep her back. It felt similar to another time years ago, when Jenna told me she was on the verge of suicide after I had written about how I had lost a loved one to suicide. I told her dorm advisor then because I couldn't stomach her secret. And here she was again, dropping another bomb. This time I told Mike. He refused to believe me. Jenna wouldn't do that, he said. But there were the seeds of mistrust, and our friendship was put down. In a few weeks, Jenna told me the man with whom she'd cheated had raped her. Not infidelity, she said, but rape. Mike was mad at the guy, but he never once made Jenna mad. He told me I was ice and cruel for suggesting that what she had done before the accident was important. I was not saying she was wrong, I never would, but I did feel like she was in a game and being put at risk. It split Mike and I apart, and we eventually split up. Steve and Rachel's narrative was more of the same, but no less epic. Steve was always a nice guy, a guy you can call when things go wrong. His affair with Rachel was a roller coaster from the get-go. She would divorce him on command, go out with other men, then come back to him after the sun had set. Somehow, Steve stayed. If he just kept it up, he once told me, Rachel would decide he was gone. The most famous of those happened during one of their breakups. Rachel was soaring, going on dates for several days in a row, 7 actually. It got shady by the time her final date came around. The guy he had hung out with wouldn't let her go, yelled at her, and left her in his car for hours after an encounter she agreed to and quickly pulled away from. Rachel didn't do it like Jenna. She took charges, got therapy, and tried to heal. Steve never wavered. He took her side, stayed by her side while she was in the legal system, and told her to heal. Then they were reunited and are getting married now. It is easy to be impressed by the way they have managed their pain, but in the short run, I worry if their relationship will last. Not so in Mike and Jenna's redemption story. Jenna's behavior became increasingly bold. She gave her roster of fans, men who lavished gifts and care on her, no secret. Mike never noticed or simply didn't notice. He even emigrated all the way across the continent for her, cutting all his friends and myself off. The straw that broke came when I saw their wedding announcement. Jenna's social networks are an altar to herself, full of selected images and captions painted by a self-consciously activist, a budding actress. Mike is an afterthought, only in one wedding picture under dozens of glamour shots. It is an entirely different animal to Steve and Rachel, who have such a rough beginning, yet seem so very genuine in their love. I can't deny it, Mike and Jenna making the right moves, or at least making the right moves, tastes bad. I loved Mike like a brother, and the fact that he sacrifices his life to a woman who doesn't love him is awful. But maybe I am the gullible one. Or maybe Mike doesn't really care what he got himself into. He's always had the kept man vibe, and if Jenna's acting dream comes true, he will be one. Steve and Rachel, meanwhile, buoy me. Rachel's music is making headway, and their relationship is unorthodox, but he and she work well together. Steve was always transparent with Rachel about his willingness to give her freedom to pursue her needs, and she has now found a place where she feels safe with him. They are the people on the ground, and their stories can be an active force for good. It is quite the contrast to Jenna's performative activism, which seems to be more about her brand than impact. I wish the love story for Steve and Rachel could keep going on. In the case of Mike and Jenna, I'm not sure I won't cry when their mask finally comes off. Perhaps that's little, but you never want to see someone who kills other people become a successful person. I am, after all, better for these friendships. Relationships are messy, hard, and do not always make sense to strangers. They stay because we will never know, and sometimes they do. For me, I'll continue to root for the folks who go to work in healing and transformation, even if they are not always pretty to watch from the sidelines.